How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. If you haven't heard just yet, the Yankees fired hitting coach Dylan Lawson. Now, this is a big surprise. The Yankees, general manager Brian Cashman, have never fired a coach mid-season. So this is the first time this is happening. We're going to break it down. We're going to react to it, give our thoughts, and obviously why this is happening. Because the Yankees offense this year is a shell of themselves. We've seen multiple, usually reliable players like DJ LeMahieu see their numbers plummet. There has to be a reason. Is it because LeMahieu is just not confident in his abilities right now? Is it because of injury? Is it because of the entire philosophical approach behind hitting on this Yankee organization? This has been a ground up type of thing. Dylan Lawson has been with the Yankees organization for a long time. He got promoted last year to hitting coach, where the offense is pretty solid. But seriously, I think that we can come to the conclusion that his ideologies don't really translate to Major League Baseball. Now they've made the playoffs mainly because they have great hitters that they are paid a crap ton of money to acquire, and they are good players. And with that, for guys like Aaron Judge, he takes to this approach really well. But if you have guys that are more contact oriented, you can't force them to hit for power all the time. Sometimes they need to just rely on their instincts, like Volpe, like DJ. And I think this kind of changed. Like DJ LeMahieu, obviously this season is a shell of himself. Even Stanton's been falling off. Maybe they needed a little bit of a change. Now, there's an argument to make that maybe this was a scapegoat type of situation because Dylan Lawson can't hit for these guys. They have to go up and actually do it themselves. So Ryan, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you think it happened? Do you think this will actually produce any positive results or positive impact moving forward? And what kind of team are you looking to? Because they're going to be hiring, and Cashman just said it, they're hiring an outsider. This is not going to be an inside job. They're going to be going out of the organization to find a new hitting coach. Where are you looking to find that next guy?
Yeah, so the Yankees need to go look at a team like the Braves, the Rays, Houston, Los Angeles, referring to the Dodgers, of course, definitely not the Angels. And we need to look there. That's where the Yankees need to be looking for hitting coaches. The Yankees are a weird team. They kind of try to advocate for this balance of analytics and old school baseball, and it's you're just bad at baseball, so you're not really both. You're not either. And here's the thing, right? Historically speaking, or what we've seen in recent years is that these teams that lean all into a phenomenal philosophy have done excellent in terms of going out and getting consistent in season results. If you want to sit here, I know a lot of people are going to say, hire Derek Jeter, someone like that. How many prominent hitting coaches are former Hall of Famers, or are Hall of Famers or former All-Stars? Not really a thing you commonly see. Matt Blake has never pitched a game of professional baseball, and he is, undoubtedly one of the best pitching minds in the entire sport. What the Yankees need to do is hire someone who has had success with a successful organization in that regard, like Matt Blake with Cleveland. If you think about the pitching factory they had I know that he's, definitely not the type of person you want off the field, but Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Corey Kluber, Mike Clevenger, just trying to think of all the guys that were there. Man, they had a factory, they had a really good rotation. But all those guys came from within, and a lot of those guys worked with Matt Blake and spoke highly of Matt Blake and glowingly of what he was able to provide. And I think that's why they hired him, and that's been a success, right? For all the problems the Yankees have, it's not pitching. It's definitely not pitching. Look at a team like the Braves. Find a guy there that, has been with the organization, isn't a guy that, is necessarily going to be there, or someone that's not necessarily going to be hard to pry away, because I imagine you're not going to be able to pull away their hitting coach, but someone that's involved in, the philosophy there that helps, form strategy and stuff like that. That would be excellent, right? And you know what that team does and goes out and does really well? They lead the league in home runs. They lead the league in slugging percentage. They do an excellent job of getting on base. They do an excellent job of pitch recognition. Hitting home runs is a simple way to put it. You can't hit a home run if you don't, make good swing decisions, right? Because typically a really good way to swing well is to, swing at pitches that are strikes, and swing at good pitches to hit at. The Yankees struggle with hitting pitches that are down the middle. That's been an issue for them in the past. They struggle in hitters counts to do damage, right? Pitch selection and pitch recognition is something they need to get a lot better at. And having someone who can come in and implement drills and strategies that can help this team better adapt to that will definitely help them go a long way. They need to become at the cutting edge of hitting analytics. They're there with pitching, right? They need to be an innovative roster, innovative organization, innovative team. And it doesn't mean, that means they have to hit, they have to slug 800 or they have to strike out a million times. People think analytics is like strikeouts and home runs. No, analytics is just, what works. What is the thing that works best? It's just data, right? It's not a concept. It's a tool, right? So I need someone who's able to implement the best tools for our hitters so that our hitters have the best information available and the best resources available for them to go out and succeed.
Yeah, right. And ultimately, this may come with a big philosophical change and going away from the hitting strikes hard and the different kind of things that Dylan Lawson instituted at the Yankees. And, where do we go from here? Like, what does the change need to be? Home runs or nothing is not the right kind of strategy any longer. And to give you an idea of that, the Yankees ranked 5th in home runs this year. And, with that being said, they also rank dead last in multiple categories, or at least in the bottom 3. With runners in scoring position, at bats, they're dead last, and runs, they're close to last, and hits, they're close to last, and their on base percentages, you look at all this stuff here. They rank 27th in on base rate, 28th in batting average, 18th in RBIs, 29th in the league with in hits overall. It's just unsustainable. This team is hitting home runs and nothing else. You look at Josh Donaldson. I mean, the guy only hits home runs, 15 hits, 10 of them are homers. We need more guys that get on base. And, you saw what the Cubs did today. You saw the bunts that they laid down. They were moving they were moving guys to the next base. They were doing stuff in a strategical manner that looked like a strategy, and it looked like a real baseball team. And the Cubs aren't very good, guys. The Cubs are like below average team, but they were working us in those later innings, and they were hitting with a purpose and urgency, and they wanted to win. The Yankees don't ever actually look like they are doing stuff with a reason. It's just doing stuff to do stuff. It's trying to hit home runs because that's what we do. It's not playing small ball because we can move this guy over, and we can move this guy, and then we can push this guy and hit it in a sac fly, and play the game of baseball, score runs. You don't have to just rely on one element of the game to carry you every single season, because all it takes, and guys, what we're learning right now, all it takes is Aaron Judge to get injured, and this whole team is a piece of shit. Excuse my language, but it's the truth. This whole team is garbage. They're garbage when Aaron Judge is not on the field, because he's the spark plug. You know what I mean? Like, he's the thing. Like, when you turn the key to start your car, he's the ignition. You know what I mean? No one else is that. No one else can start the car. Nobody else can provide that level of production. Nobody else can get the gears turning. Nobody else can change the course of a game in the blink of an eye, except for Aaron Judge on this team. And you look at the pitching. Domingo Germán was phenomenal today. Should they have taken him out at 74 pitches? No. The fact that we have 4 days off right now, and he's not pitching for probably over a week, like, what are we doing here? Like, why is Germán being taken out? Like, they wanted him to go out. Like Aaron Boone said, I wanted him to go into the All-Star break on a high note. Guy, he was 74 pitches in. He had given up 1 run. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean go on a high note? He was kicking ass. He was dominating. Like, you're gonna take him out and put in Ron Marinaccio, who's been struggling for weeks, and he walks the bases loaded, and suddenly you're down, and suddenly it's tied, and then it's 6-4, and then it's 7-4. Like, come on, guys. Like, the decisions are obvious. You don't make the same dumb decisions. That's you do the same thing over and over again, hoping for different results. That's the definition of insanity. We know this. But the truth is like, Ryan, what are you preferring in terms of the direction of the hitting now? Like, is there going to be a big change? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say if there's going to be any change at all. If DJ is going to turn around, Stan's going to be more consistent, whatever it might be. Do you think that maybe they're going to go with some of our younger prospects and kind of give them opportunities, because we're not going for slugging Franchi Cordero anymore. The slugging mentality of the Yankees, is that about to change? Are we about to play a little bit more small ball, a little bit more contact? Where do you think this team goes, and what do you think the analytics supports?
Yeah. So, and this is always a tough conversation to have, right? Like, what does the Yankees direction look like, right? Because we're taking guesses, and, I don't know anyone in the org. We don't know what's that exactly going to look like. But what I do know is that if the Yankees lean more into a data-heavy approach, what that's going to look like is, I think you're going to see better swing decisions. There is still going to be a heavy emphasis placed on slugging, because that's just where the league has gone. Again, I think people have misconstrued understanding of what analytics is, right? Like, again, it's not just, all right, and the most analytical teams strike out the most, or the most analytical teams have the most loft in their swing. It looks more like just, all right, the most analytical teams tend to have the most success, because, again, analytics is, when we're talking about data, you have to have an open mind as to what that looks like, right? I've talked about like ideal concepts like sweet spot percentage, right? That's the concept of like getting ideal launch angles, right? And that doesn't just look like hitting the ball as high as humanly possible, right? Because a 34-degree batted ball is not a sweet spot, but a 25-degree batted ball is. So a lower launch angle in that situation is actually the better one, right? I think that's a pretty good parallel with analytics. More strikeouts doesn't just mean more analytics. So just want to clarify that. Contact is still super valuable. Like, contact is a valuable tool. You can't hit a home run without making contact, obviously. But knowing what pitches to swing at that will give you the highest chances of making contact and then making quality contact is something that's super important. I've slammed the table. I've been like in an absolute frenzy at times talking about their swing decisions, right? How they're a little too aggressive. They should be more of a passive team. They should see more pitches. They don't do a good enough job with that, right? If the Yankees saw more pitches, they would probably be if they saw more pitches, if they increased their OBP, they would be one of the best offenses in baseball because again, they can hit home runs. Like that's something they excel at. I don't want them to change that. I don't want them to be worse at hitting home runs. I want them to just get better at getting on base, right? Get better at swing decisions, right? Because once they get better at swing decisions, then those solo home runs that, you're like, oh, solo home run, great. That's one run becomes, oh, that's a 3-run shot. And then they hit another 3-run shot and then they hit a 2-run shot. And suddenly, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 runs looks like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 runs, right? And that's really where you want to be at. You want to feel like your lineup is a buzzsaw, that pitchers don't feel comfortable pitching to certain lineups. When Texas came into town, I know Texas is slumping, but it felt like just looking at the numbers on their on the lineup, you didn't have a weak spot. You didn't have an area where like, oh, this guy is the guy you attack. It felt like, all right, yeah, their 9-hitter has an 800 OPS. What the hell? Now, part of that is personnel. The Yankees need to have better personnel, on their roster. Brian Cashman has to do a better job of acquiring players. But I think the fact that they're willing to make this change in season, I think the fact that they're being a little bit aggressive is definitely a good thing. I know that there's arguments on some sides that it's performative, and I felt that way at first. But I don't think you fire a guy or you do something you've never done before in a performative manner. And I feel like that's unfair to say, oh, that's performative, when we've been sitting here and criticizing Dylan Lawson, and then they go out and fire him, and then we sit here and criticize firing Dylan Lawson, right? I understand. Yes, I want players held accountable as well. I don't think that certain players should still be on the team, but that's part of the process, right? You can't. You not always are going to get exactly what you want, but end of the day, when they go out and hire a guy, we already saw the report. It's going to be external. I hope they go and get a guy who's got a more modern, open approach to baseball, who understands, different concepts and can explain that to the players. Because coachability is also not just about being knowing how data works. It's about being able to explain these concepts, good drills, good concepts. I want players to feel like in the organization that they've got a guy there who's willing to help them and give them the resources they need. And I'm not sitting here and saying Dylan Lawson doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know Dylan Lawson. I wasn't in that clubhouse. I don't know how he operates. And as you mentioned, he's built the organization for a while. He did a really good job with the minor league guys. Like there are a lot of minor league guys that were able to produce and became better hitters with him as director of their minor league hitting situation. But they have a lot of guys doing that right now with a different guy in place. So, I hope they're able to kind of have, as you mentioned, not just the major league team get better, but that minor league farm system have better swing decisions and stuff like that. Their minor league farm system's done a good job with that, but can they get better? I think they can. And end of the day, you want a guy who's got an abundance of knowledge, who's got a feel for the game, who understands how data works, understands how to apply that to the game, and is willing to evolve with the game. Matt Blake evolves with the game. He was a big, last year he was having everyone throw a cutter. This year he makes shifts, right? The first year it was like, oh, everyone's throwing a sinker now, right? What Matt Blake specializes in has changed every year. He goes with the data, right? And that's what you want a really good coach to do. They go with the data trends. Now they're a sweeper team, and then the sweepers have even become a little less popular. So they had guys like Clay Holmes work on a harder, more firmer slider that has less horizontal break and a little more vertical break. So I think you and I can agree. You just want a guy that's willing to adapt with the game, that's willing to make the changes necessary. I don't want a guy who like, oh, this is what I do really well, and this is what we're always going to do. Like the hit strikes hard approach, right? Like I know that's going to get criticized. The concept as a whole is novel. It makes sense, right? But it felt like it didn't apply, or it felt like it wasn't translating to good swing decisions. It felt like it wasn't, evolving, or I guess what's the word? I guess like molding with how the game has changed, and the game changes like this. So, 1 year ago, sweepers were just sliders. Now they're sweepers. There's a whole new pitch. A year ago, we were sitting here talking about, does everyone need to throw a sinker? Now, guys throw more fastballs because four seamers, they get more swings and misses because balls in play are worse because there's less shifts and, bigger bases and all that stuff. So I just need a guy who's willing to adapt with the game. That's really how I view it. That's how I view analytics there.
Yeah, I think what you just said was actually one of the more important points to make, was that Matt Blake changes with the game. Everything he does is cutting edge. Like that's the word you used earlier, cutting edge. He is at the forefront of analytics. Dylan Lawson, what we've been seeing has been the same exact thing for years. It hasn't changed at all. The mentality is exactly the same. Hit strikes hard, go for the home runs, hit for pass. It's not a bad thing, but there are ways to adjust, especially with the league going in certain directions, specific players. Like I always wondered why we didn't play to players' strengths. We were always trying to force, this is kind of like if you're a football fan, you hear like coaches say this all the time. You try to force square pegs into round holes. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of what the Yankees have been trying to do with some of our players. You know what I mean? Like Volpe, he can be a solid slugger, but he's sacrificed a lot of plate discipline to do it. You know what I mean? Like his contact quality has decreased. He's being like way too aggressive at times, overly aggressive. Same thing with DJ LeMahieu this year. So hopefully things change. You know, this is definitely going to be a process. I don't expect there to be like drastic changes. The offense to suddenly pick it up. If they do, that's freaking amazing. I hope that happens. But, you know, we have to temper our expectations, of course, guys. I'm happy to hear your thoughts and opinions below in the YouTube comments. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.